here I am with Mike Mooney, author of Reputation Shift, an awesome book. It covers the lessons from pit road to the boardroom. Mike Mooney here worked in the race industry for a long time, and now he is a reputation expert. I happen to have a signed copy. I know people, so I don't know.
May have found its way to you.
May have found my way. May have found its way over. But just an excellent book about reputation.
Thanks, man.
Today, I want to cover a little bit about reputation in the medical industry.
Okay.
So, one of the examples that comes to mind. I had my LASIK eye surgery done in February of 2012, and the guy that did my LASIK eye surgery ends up in this huge scandal with. He ends up in this, I don't know, it's just this big sex scandal or whatever else.
Yeah, I think I've read about that.
Yeah, you may or may not know who it is.
Yeah.
A huge person does LASIK surgery in the Charlotte area, and he loses his license, loses his practice, loses everything. And it's just incredible. And I never knew if like the allegations were true or not, but think about that as an effective reputation. So, here he is just getting charged with these things, and all of a sudden he loses everything just based on reputation alone.
Right.
So thank you for coming and having this conversation with me here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's kind of dig into it. Let's say that you're a brand new dentist, or I'm speaking particularly about private practice medical professionals. What would be your first steps that you would take in order to make sure that you have a proper reputation in check, so that you don't end up on a hot mic or something like that?
Right. Which you may end up in today's world.
Yeah.
Like I always say that we are living at a time because of social media and the hyperconnectivity of the internet that our reputations have never been more valuable to us. Yet, because of social media and the hyperconnectivity, they've never been as vulnerable and fragile.
Yeah.
In any other time in human history.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, you can literally, it seems like you can find out any detail about anyone at any time.
Transparency.
And
that's the point, getting back to, if we could just sort of like, before we get to the answer on your starting dentist as the example, with the issue with the doctor you had mentioned with your LASIK, that was like a perfect storm.
Right.
Coming together, where you had an individual that was portraying themselves one way,
right,
and saying that they had values, that were wholesome, family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yet when allegations started coming out, and at first I'm sure people were like, "No way, there's no way that this could," because that's not the person I know.
Right.
But as more allegations started coming out, there really was a very clear picture of a disconnect of two different people.
For sure, absolutely, and I'm sure he lost a bunch of business. I mean, even no matter if it was true or not, I'm not a jury. I'm not saying what happened or what didn't.
Right.
Just the allegation by itself, the fact that there's that huge disconnect between having this representation of who you are and what you stand for versus the portrayal of what you're standing for. So,
and that's the challenge with social media, is that people see you in mosaics. They don't see a clear picture of the actual individual, which is where, if you have an opportunity as a doctor, as a professional in this field, to create that one-to-one interaction versus being solely what people see online, which is very important. And we'll get into that as well as we go.
But I think it's really unfortunate. It seems like, you see this in the political realm, you absolutely see this in the medical realm with malpractice and stuff like that, and any white-collar profession, but you think about, people are only examining snippets of people's thing. You can have a heart surgeon, for example, that has done 1,000 successful surgeries, and yet the one that goes poorly is all of a sudden that person's reputation. So it's very interesting. So getting back to how to protect your reputation, what would you suggest for somebody that is a brand new medical professional, white-collar professional, and they want to protect their reputation outside of just having malpractice insurance?
That's a good start.
Definitely.
I would say that is that's a mandatory.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also want to make a distinction too, that there are two parts to the reputation management that we've got to be mindful of in today's world.
Sure.
All right. There is the online digital, whereas people talk about, typically when they talk about reputation management, it's SEO,
sure,
right? Search engine optimization, it's ORM, online reputation management, which all goes back to, for SEO specifically, it's,
right.
I like to say, like, how do you bury the cat turd further down the litter box, right? Because it's really about, getting that bad stuff off of page 1 on Google, because they know that 90% of people don't go past page 1. So if you get the stuff off, that's a help. Then they talk about reviews and how do you manage reviews and stars and all of that.
Right.
That's important. That's important. I always say that SEO is a digital strategy to an analog problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guess what?
Yeah.
We're the analog problem.
I was going to say.
It's the behavior.
Yep.
So if I were to give any advice to someone who's starting their practice, right, in this field, and they want to be mindful of reputation, I would say that it starts with a couple of key fundamentals. One, it's knowing your values.
Okay.
Knowing your personal values and how they are going to come to light within your practice. Now, that's not enough. That's not enough. You have to take those values and figure out how are you going to bring them to life in a way that your customers, your patients, and we'll call them customers because they truly are, because they have choices.
Yeah, they can go to this dentist or that. I mean, they have
don't
choices.
Like you,
they
you go
customers.
And that's happened to us.
Yeah.
Where we had a dentist for a number of years, and some things happened, and we're like, you know what, we got choices.
Yeah, you can jump ship.
We're going to go somewhere else. But the point is, understand first and foremost the values that you're bringing to life. It's not just about a business. People have to understand this now, is that this is about customer service and an experience that people are going to have with you. If you look at it through the lens of creating an experience for your customer, for your patient, you won't look at this as a transactional business anymore.
Sure.
It's really about the relationships that you're establishing. So values matter, because when they show out to people, that's going to draw them in because they can relate to it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about you living that out. You've got to make sure that every person you hire who is
also
then representing you
also has that
approach and mindset and believes in it. There was a study that I read about that was done a few years ago on values and organizations, and it absolutely floored me when it said, the question was, how many employees actually believe in the values of the organization for which they work? What percentage do you think that is?
I mean, hopefully high, you'd think, because, hopefully an employee would, or, somebody that works for you would at least believe in you, believe in your organizations. What was it? What was the percentage?
24.
Oh my God! So less than a quarter.
Less than a quarter of the people working in the organization actually believe in the values of that company.
Wild. Do you think it might be a little higher in white collar professions, because
this was coming from white collar professions as well?
That's crazy. It's
crazy when you think about how much time is spent on culture and mission statements and values, and here's what we stand for. But here was where the disconnect came.
Yeah.
It was because the employees saw the leaders acting in ways that were not aligned and consistent with those values. So if they don't believe it, and they're not living it out,
right,
and they're still getting their paycheck and their bonus and their stock options and everything else, why am I bothering with this?
Yeah, why would I? Yeah, it's so mind-blowing to me, because and I think, unfortunately, we run into a huge issue when it comes to professional atmospheres and white-collar atmospheres, where there's an expectation of a professional candor that is almost impossible to meet the criteria for. So you see these VPs of organizations or something, and they'll never say a curse word or something like that.
Right.
And do you think that they're going to say a curse word when, Cam Newton throws an interception or something? Absolutely, So that's kind of an interesting disconnect that maybe I've never even considered. But what do you think about that? So I'm not saying that you have to be cursed like a sailor to maintain a proper culture.
Right.
But how do you have like a realistic expectation and a realistic culture for your environment with your employees? Do you think that would increase the status quo at least higher than the 24% or whatever?
Yeah, I think it comes down to what is your expectation?
Yeah.
What is that supposed to be for your company? What is realistic? I think every business owner has to decide what is realistic for their culture.
Right.
And I'm a believer that the standard becomes what you accept. So if you have a high standard, and maybe let's flip it and have fun. Maybe in your industry or world, cursing like a sailor is part of the culture.
Right.
And that aligns with the brand and aligns with your values.
Cars or something.
Could be cars, it could be energy drinks, it could be whatever, you know, entertainment, whatever it is. If that's reasonable in your industry and that aligns with who you are authentically and you own that, and okay, well then maybe that is realistic for them.
Sure.
To your point, in a medical environment, I don't know of many that would be the case. So you as the owner have to decide what is realistic
and what you tolerate.
What is my standard?
Sure.
What is my standard? And then ensuring that the people know what that standard is. I mean, I go through an exercise with companies and their leadership teams where, and it's really simple, man. I mean, this is what I love about the stuff that we get to do. Is like it's simple things, but if done methodically and intentionally, it will add up to big change.
Absolutely.
So let's go through this exercise.
Right.
You've opened up your new practice. You've got your values. You know what you stand for: integrity, compassion, right? Exceeding expectations. You can go on down the line: honesty, et cetera, right? Education, informative, right? Having humor, a good sense of humor, right? We don't want it to be a stiff, rigid place, right?
Yeah.
So you go through all of that, and then you take the time to tell your staff, this is what we espouse to, here are the values. Then what?
Yeah, how do you enact that? How do you?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as you were speaking on the subject, because it's so difficult for any professional, medical or otherwise, to have that conversation with their employees and say, you know, this is the bar. This is you know what we expect both out of your. I mean, you can think about work ethic too.
Sure.
You know, work ethic comes into play with reputation. Nobody wants to go to a lazy doctor. It's just the way that it is.
No.
You know.
No.
I remember. So my father's an orthodontist, since retired, and you know he was towards the end of his practice. Yeah. He was only working several days a week, but I mean the guy's was a dentist for 43 years or something like that. So he was only working a couple days a week, but he ends up losing patients because he's not open, even though he was a great orthodontist. He wasn't open in the times that conformed to their schedule.
They needed.
Right. And that's a weird effector of reputation in itself.
Well, it's a flip, in my opinion, that we've seen in a lot of sectors right now, where it used to be, oh my gosh, I have to fit my time around the doctor to get in.
Yeah. And
people now, as busy as they are like, forget it, I'll go find someone else.
Yeah.
Or how are they next week? Or I'll figure something out. I'm not. It's an interesting change, but it does impact because look, he may be really good, and there's some industries where you can compress your schedule like that and actually charge more.
Sure.
Because of the value that you deliver and your expertise. I don't know if that's one of those industries where you can do that.
Right.
So you're not really maximizing. The only thing he was maximizing was his own time, and he put in the time. 43 years, man. Hey, God bless.
Yeah. Right. Oh, and I'm not saying
fantastic.
My dad's lazy either.
No, and I'm
record, but
was he the lazy doctor you were talking about?
No, not at all. He had a great practice for many years.
Yeah.
I don't.
But that's the thing. Let me just finish the one thought though is. Taking that next step with the values and actually working with each person on the staff to say, so of these values that we espouse, that we believe in, that we want to bring to life for our customers, not patients, they're our customers, how will you bring that to life?
Yeah.
And what you do.
Right.
And it might be answering the phone. It could be filing. It could be clean. I don't know what those roles are, but every person has a responsibility to find out and figure out how they bring those to life on a regular basis, so that things become intentional.
Yep.
It's not haphazard.
Right.
It's not an accident that when you walk in that you are met with certain greetings or certain things when you come.
Certain courtesy or certain energy. I mean, I'm big on if I'm going to get my annual checkup or something like that.
Yeah.
I hate it. I've actually jumped ship from a doctor before because they have the big. Try to paint this picture here for you, but they have the big window and it's this big, like, I mean, it's basically a bank vault, but it's a glass window.
Yeah.
Ka-chink! And, you know, they close it. And they open it up, and you have this, not mean person behind it, but just a unfriendly is what we'll call them. Right. What do you want? Or not, they don't say that. But, you know, they say something like, what are you here for? What are you, whatever, you know.
Now serving number 500.
Right. Yeah, and when I go to the doctor, I don't want to feel like I'm at the DMV, you know? Like, I don't want, you know, I don't want to be greeted by some bridge troll or something like that. It's like, what do you want? Why are you here? You know, something like that. I've never experienced that. I kind of want to. Or
a bridge troll? I was wondering, because he did that pretty well.
I mean,
we're talking Vikings earlier, and now bridge trolls. Where's this going?
I'm just saying, I may or may not be in the middle of writing like a Game of Thrones book or something like that.
That's awesome.
I'm not. I'm just
okay, that's unfortunate.
But yeah, you were thinking about it.
I was thinking about it.
You were thinking about something.
So you know, there's so many facets to this.
Absolutely.
That this doctor who is now a business owner, who has now got to think of their patients as customers, and it's not an office visit, it is an experience, because that's what people expect today, to be looking at their business differently, which requires them to look at their reputations differently, which then requires them to have to go dig deeper with, you know, their staff to ensure that they understand the expectations, the standards, the values, how we bring it to life. This is how we treat our customers.
Yeah.
These are the surprise and delight moments that we want to create for them. We should be looking for.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that it's difficult for a doctor who is focused on ongoing training, getting the best equipment, running the business, to have to think of all. That's why the work that you do, the work that I do is exciting, because we can actually have an impact, a tangible impact, you know, on a person's business and ultimately on other people's lives.
Yeah,
it's fun stuff, man. That's fun
incredible.
Stuff.
It's incredible. One thing that I want to talk about, and I'll give you this via an example too. I always love to talk about this with people, but I talk about corporate culture.
Yeah.
And so, you know, enacting the values that you have is classic corporate culture.
Right.
And in a doctor's office, I always think about my dermatologist. My dermatologist is just this cool dude. I mean, he's really cool, and he's really into art, and his office is crazy. I mean, you feel like you're walking into a Picasso painting, and it's crazy. But from a cultural perspective, I mean, from the moment you walk in, you know that you're going to get an experience unlike any other, and you know that he's going to have weird stuff hanging up on the walls.
Sure.
He's going to have crazy paintings. His waiting room is like bright pink, and his inside one of the offices. Where I get, you know, the checkups or whatever. I mean, he has like brains in jars and stuff. I mean, it's meant to be like a fun place.
Wow.
You know, it's meant to be, and that's his culture.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
By the way, if last time I looked at his online reputation or whatever, he was dermatologist number 1 in this area.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean, it's an incredible thing. So I know you're a busy guy, Mike. I kind of want to cover one more.
Come on, man. No, man. I want to hang out. We
talk about Vikings. We got to catch up a little.
Well, this is your version of Between Two Ferns or something. I think, you know. I'm looking for him. I'm looking for Mr. Galifianakis to walk through the door here.
What if he did? What would you do?
Awesome.
We just stop.
Sit him down right here. I'd sit him right here.
Come on,
he's awesome.
Have a thing. So let's talk. Last topic here. Okay. How do you correct a bad reputation? So, and that's one of the most difficult things you can possibly do, digitally, analog, or otherwise. But you know, let's say that you have this dentist that is messing up people's teeth or something like that, and so, you know, their Google reviews, they have 17 reviews, and their average review is 2.7 stars, and you know, even though that doesn't represent who they are, maybe they're going through a rough time, or you know, any example, any excuse is good enough. Right. What do you you tell this person, and how do they go about correcting their reputation?
Right. So I would say the two things that are going on. You've got, again, the digital part with the reviews that you've got to handle and deal with that. The other side of it, the analog part, is, and I'll start with this. You know, there's a phrase that says, when was the best time to plant a tree?
Right.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
When's the next best time?
Right now.
Yeah. Okay. So with that in mind, I would ask the person, so what do you have in your bank account, your bank of you, your bank of reputation, your body of work over years that would probably mitigate the issue that's going on here? Do you have a good body of work, a positive body of work behind you that people would say, man, that's not the Reece I know.
Yeah.
I've been going to see Reece for 15 years. And you know what? We all have bad days.
Sure.
Even the Hall of Famers have had bad games.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Bad streaks for that matter. So the first part is you got to look and see, what do you have in your bank?
Yeah.
You know, I actually mentioned that in the book. It's called The Bank of You.
Yeah.
So every day you're either making a deposit or a withdrawal. And every interaction that we have with people.
Yeah.
Okay, so being mindful of that.
One of my favorite things about you is for some reason I can't ever reach you on the phone, so I've listened to your voicemail. I can practically mock it at this point. But my favorite,
as long as it's not like a bridge troll.
No, it's not. Hey, this is Mike.
Hey.
No. So one of my favorite things, you don't even know this, but one of my favorite things about you is that your voicemail.
Right.
You always say, hey, you've got Mike. Listen, you didn't reach me this time, but it's really important that we connect. And that's one of my favorite things about you. And by the way, cool. We always connect. I mean, you know, I always call you at the wrong time, it seems. Listen, just because I call you at 2 a.m., I expect you to answer.
I was just saying, man, I thought it was a booty call. I'm like, man, I'm not. Or bail bonds or something, man. I need a ride. Call Uber, man. Call Uber.
Mooney, I need a bail, man.
Right?
Come on, help me out.
Right?
No, but it's so important that we connect. And you know, I remember working with several different offices and correcting this tragic online reputation or attempting to. Yeah. And what I always tell them, which goes right along with the tree thing. I might use that, by the way.
Yeah, feel free. It's not mine.
Oh, perfect. So we'll just plagiarize somebody else. Perfect. But one of the things that I always say is, listen, you can't build Rome in a day. Right. One step at a time.
Yeah.
You know, what are our steps that we got to do? And you think about the bank of you, as Mike Mooney calls it, and you think about what can you do to represent yourself in the best fashion possible. Yeah. And by the way, you know, I'll never forget this. Growing up, of course, I'm around dentists and stuff all the time. And my dad had this really great friend, and he was a brilliant dentist. Yeah. And I mean to tell you, this guy, like, if you need to get your teeth worked on, you're going to him. I mean, he was incredible.
A Cadillac.
But yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, I'm telling you, my hand on the Bible, he was a fantastic from a practical perspective. Yep. But he hated it. He hated the work, and so he ends up. This is a true story. Yeah. He hated the work because, you know, what he would describe it as is he's inflicting pain on people. You know, he's yanking teeth and drilling holes in teeth and fixing gums and whatever. And everybody's ooh ah every time he sees them and everything. Brilliant dentist. And he hated the work, and so he threw in the towel. And he did very well for himself, and he went through all this dental school and everything else. And the life lesson that I learned, I'm 10, 12 years old in this story, and the life lesson that I learned is that it wasn't the right thing for him, and so he ends up, this is a true story, he ends up going on and becoming an astronomer, of all things.
Because that's probably where he had a passion.
And he loved it.
Yeah.
He loved it. He had his nest egg. He did great with dental work or whatever. Yeah. And it's kind of funny when you see somebody that's really good at their work, because you might just throw some kind of dental jargon out. Oh, I had this impacted tooth or whatever, and he kind of snaps into it. And he says, oh, you know, did you ever try to extract it? And you're sitting there and you're like, and he still has it.
He still got it. But, I mean, you drop a bicuspid in there, man, and he's all like,
what? Yeah, he gets bicuspids. What are we talking about? Yes. So you can still see, you know, he loved the
spark.
He loved the nature of it, but he hated the practice of it. You know.
Yeah.
And so for him, you know, he followed his passion. He's since passed, but he lived a long, good life. And and let me tell you, I mean, I knew this man. I mean, he passed when I was 24, I guess. Yeah. And since that moment, so I guess I'm 10 or 12 when he retires dentistry, and for 12 more years, happiest he ever was. I swear, I promise.
You know what's interesting, and this is a complete other tangent we're going to go down, but you hit on something that I actually did a blog post on around the holidays, around this word passion. Yeah. And I really think there's a problem with people using this word passion. Find your passion, get your passion, work your passion. And there's this pressure that we've got to find our passion. Right. Okay. And then actually, then what do you do with it? And I think that passion can be an advocation or it can be a vocation. Like I've got a buddy of mine who's a banker, making ridiculous money, doing great in his job, but his passion is helping orphan children. Okay. Wow. And he uses the money from the bank and what he earns in his day job, right, for this advocation of supporting and building orphanages.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
An incredible guy.
It's amazing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. That's one way to figure out your passion.
Yeah.
And then don't quit your day job.
Right. Sure.
You know, and go over here and then figure out a way to still fulfill that and fill that up and feel like you're making that difference.
Yeah.
The other side of it, though, and to figure out if it actually is something that you should quit the day job and go after, is this little filter system where you look at 3 concentric circles. And one is passion, one is talent and skill, and the other is a marketplace.
Okay. Yeah, if it exists.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So you can have a talent and a passion,
but
if there's no market for it,
yep.
What are you doing? Conversely, you can have people who have a talent and skill, and there's a market, and no passion for it.
And
you see this in people,
yep.
and you see this in people who might be 2nd, 3rd generation doctors,
sure.
or lawyers, or whatever it might be. It's just you're expected to go down that path. Now, I don't know if that was the case with, your friend, but the fact that he had a skill. Clearly, he had a skill and a talent, and there was clearly a market. But man, that just wasn't where his passion. And it doesn't mean that he's going to be completely unfulfilled. Right, because there are other ways that obviously he's providing stability and doing well in his life, which may have then afforded him the opportunity to
do astronomy.
But I just think that it's people should really think through this passion thing because it's being thrown around so much lately. You got life coaches, other people telling you got to find the passion. I'm living my passion. I went through the same thing before I left my last job in racing at Roush Fenway. I had to sit there and really, really think about it. Do I have a passion for this work that I want to step into in speaking and coaching and consulting and this message around reputation? Yes, I do. Do I have a skill or a talent to do it? Well, fortunately, over 25 years of, presenting, speaking, doing these things, I think I could do that, and I think that it would connect with people.
Sure.
And is there a market for it?
Yeah.
I think there's a market. Okay, great. Now get your act together, get a book together, get your materials, get your stuff lined up and set up. And that took me 5 years. Well, it's 12 years of work, but the last 5 to get myself ready to do that. So it wasn't like it was hey, let's jump and go.
Sure.
I found my passion.
Yeah.
Hey, honey. Tell the kids, I found my passion.
Right.
Yeah. It's not how that works. Sorry, we're kind of going on the different. I want to finish up on the point of the how do you regain your reputation?
Yeah, absolutely.
But keep
well, going. The only final point I was going to make to that is that I saw this meme of all things the other day, and it's talking about.
It wasn't the cat and the woman split screen, was it?
It may or may not. It may or may not have been.
Okay.
That's not the point.
They're my favorite right now.
It says, I see so many. I saw one of those with. I think I saw one of those with like they superimposed like Hillary's face on one and Trump's face on the other.
Oh my God! I just saw one yesterday. My wife showed me. I about fell off the chair. It had Yoko Ono on one side, and then Meghan, the princess. What's the name? Markle.
Markle?
I should know that.
Meghan Markle, I think is her name. I think that's right. Anyway,
it was it's horrible. My current events, right? But I had Yoko Ono that says, "I broke up the Beatles." And then her side says, "Hold my beer."
Hold my beer. Oh my God,
dude! I laughed. I laughed so.
The latest?
Hard. I mean, not at them because obviously it's tough time. But that was just a funny.
I keep seeing Baby Yoda everywhere. Baby Yoda's everywhere. But anyway, this is not relevant to anything important. But
we're sorry.
Sorry, all listeners and viewers. But the one that I saw. This is relevant to reputation and all of the above with passion and the concentric circles. But it was talking about how. When you reach the age of 30, some of your friends will be married with children, some will be divorced, some will be single, some will be working hourly, some will be working salary, some will be in business for themselves, some will be working for other people. The point of the story is that no matter where you are, you're right on time because your life, we set up this expectation for a timeline. I
should have done that 5 years ago.
Should have done this, should have done that, or whatever.
I know, man.
But I always retort. How could you have? You weren't prepared. You didn't have the materials. You didn't have maybe the passion. You didn't have the, you didn't have the drive. That life event that occurred. That's the thing that's pushing you forward. Hadn't happened yet.
Absolutely.
So you're right on time.
No, man, I love that. And what that requires though is a mindset shift.
Yep.
And grace.
Yep.
giving yourself
the knowledge that something's there.
Giving yourself that opportunity to look at something differently, and not through the lens that we typically do, which is, oh, dumbass, you should have done this.
Right.
But also the grace to say, you know what, I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And I look back myself, like the seed for what I'm doing now was planted July 8th, 2006.
Wow.
Okay? So
it's been a while.
It's been a while, man. And there were plenty of times when I was like, oh man, if you had just done this then, oh, you should have done that then. But then I look back and I'm like, I wouldn't have met this person. I wouldn't have had this experience. I wouldn't have had this life lesson, this life event that's actually made me better now.
Yeah.
And being more effective, right? And more confident in what it is that we get to bring to life.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's great. I grew up playing baseball, and that was like my life.
I saw a picture photo of you on Insta, by the way. Yeah, that's awesome.
Did you check out the sweet ponies that I had, the cleats that I
Oh,
check
yeah?
them out? Oh, yeah,
of course I did. That's awesome.
So Satchel Paige, who was an African-American pitcher back like in the 20s, 30s, 40s, grew up playing baseball at a time when they had the Negro leagues and everything was segregated.
Right.
I mean, it was a horrible time if you were going to be a player and an athlete. And he was amazing. I mean, the guy was an amazing player, absolute player. And his book, I read his autobiography, and it was fantastic. And the book title is Right on Time, because he was asked at an interview one time, years later, after, you know, obviously today's game has changed and society and all that.
Of course.
He said, Satchel, given your gifts and skills and how good you were, don't you wish that you were born in
a different time?
Like you missed it.
Yeah.
And his answer was, no, man.
Yeah.
I was right on time.
Yeah.
You know, and that's always kind of stuck with me, because we may not understand
why
presently
you're on time.
Why. We always feel like we're behind, because again, social media, everything else going on is telling us that we're imperfect, we're not enough. I can help you. I have the answer. Get this book. Download this series. Go to this session. Whatever it is, and you're seeing everyone else's highlight reels on their feeds, and in our heads we're playing our bloopers. You know, of how we're just not getting it done. Man, I had a day like that last week, and I had to just like step back and breathe and say, you know,
hey, you gotta,
like,
you know,
just
handle it one step at a time.
Just
you know?
pump the brakes, buddy. You know, stop judging your year 2 by someone else's year 10, 12, 14.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, but still aspire, you know, and push yourself to go. So
give yourself a bar threshold.
Yeah, I think we're kind of going in a different place, which I love, which is always fun with you, because you always have good conversations. But, you know, it's just, I like that, man. I like that mindset shift of the life events, that you are right on time. And I also think that we need to give ourselves a little more grace. And that
benefit
we are
of the doubt.
learning. Well, man, we're learning. We're imperfect.
Learning through failures and successes.
That's how, man, look, I've told you this before. My favorite quote, and I can't find who I can attribute it to.
Yeah, so, we need to
figure
this out.
So here's the deal. You know, and I'll say it to the people who are listening too. If you like it, attribute it to me the first 2 or 3 times.
I've ever said it for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Then after that, it's yours.
Right. Okay.
All right?
Gotcha.
But it's as simple as this: life is the toughest teacher, because you learn the lesson after you take the test. Right.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Mike Mooney, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah,
Make sure to check out Mike's book, Reputation Shift. I will show it to both cameras.
Thank you.
Super expert on all things reputation.
And if you're interested, thank you, man. If you're interested in learning more, following up more, even on how to rebuild, we didn't wrap that part up of how do you continue to rebuild the reputation.
Yeah.
But you can find me on social media, my website, MikeMooney.com.
MikeMooney.com. Yep.
And we can pick up the conversation, or through the great work that you're doing, Reece. Thank you, man.
Really appreciate having me.
Yeah, I love what you're doing, man. I mean, you're putting the ball in play. You're getting messages out there. You're bringing people together.
Yeah.
Man, it's great.
Love it, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for I guess having you.
Thank you for coming to my show.
Yeah, thank
see
you
what
for
I just
coming,
did there?
The new Mike Mooney show. You just made it your show.
We just
the Mike
flipped it.
Mooney show. We need to make like a talk show.
I like it.
That.